Hi, I'm Tricia Bear. Welcome to the Culinary Command Post. Today I'm going to show you how to make bread pudding with vanilla sauce. So our ingredients that we need today to make the bread pudding is 3 eggs, 2 tablespoons of melted butter, a half a cup of raisins, and that's optional. And then I'm also going to put about a cup of chopped pecans. I'm going to use a half a cup of heavy cream, 2 cups of regular milk, 3/4 cup of sugar, a teaspoon of vanilla, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and then 1 teaspoon of salt. In addition to that, I'm going to add, and this is optional, I'm going to add about half a cup of Jim Beam bourbon to it to give it that extra flavor profile. So that's what you use to do the bread pudding part. And then after you get that in the oven, you're going to do the vanilla sauce part, which is going to go on top of the bread pudding once it gets done. And so you're going to use half a cup of heavy cream, a teaspoon of vanilla, half a cup of milk, a pinch of salt, a half a cup of sugar, and then you're going to use 1 egg to temper the sauce. And I'll show you how to do that when we get to that. Now I do have some caramel dip, however you say it, to put on top of the bread pudding once it gets done, if you want to put caramel on it. So the first thing you do is preheat the oven to 350 degrees, which we've already done. And then you're going to mix your ingredients here, except for the raisins, the melted butter, and the pecans. You're going to put that on last after your 6 cups of bread. And the bread I'm using also, it's 6 cups of bread, but it's called vanilla brioche. You can use French bread or another type of bread, but this is actually a vanilla brioche bread that I got from the Walmart bakery. So I'm going to use that as our bread. So we're going to mix this sauce up, let the bread soak for 10 minutes, and then add the raisins, the pecans, and the melted butter. Then we're going to put it in the oven. So I'm using a deep pan here just because I have a lot of bread. So we're going to use that, and I'm going to spray the bottom of the pan. And I like this type of spray. It's called Baker's Joy, but it also has flour in it. So it makes your desserts or whatever you're cooking not stick as bad if you use this type of spray. Okay, so we got our pan sprayed. So now I'm going to mix up these ingredients to soak the bread in, which I said I had 6 cups of vanilla brioche, and it just has some vanilla mixed in with the bread already. So I've got my eggs here, so it's 3 eggs. The half a cup of heavy cream. 2 cups of milk. The half a cup of Jim Beam bourbon, this is the brand that I used. Three-quarters cup of sugar. The 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. 1 teaspoon of salt. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, because nutmeg is really pungent, so you don't have to put a lot of nutmeg. So I would do a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. We're going to mix all of that up, including the vanilla that I accidentally spilled. Okay. Let me grab that vanilla again. Hang on. I spilled it, so we're going to put just about a teaspoon of vanilla in it. Okay, mix all of that up, and then you're going to pour it over your bread and let it soak in there. So I'm actually going to put the bread inside the pan since I have a smaller bowl for that than I needed. So I'm going to put it all in the pan after I get the coating mixed up here. Hang on. Alright, so I got it mixed up. So now I'm going to pour the bread into the pan I'm going to cook it in the oven at 350 degrees. And I did pinch up the bread. It's about 6 cups of bread is what it is. So the bread's already made. Just spread it out evenly, and we're going to put that mixture that I just mixed up on top of it. Okay. And we're going to let it set for about 10 minutes while I'm making what they call the vanilla sauce that's going to go on it. Now it's going to cook in the oven about 40 or 45 minutes, the bread pudding is. After it's set for 10 minutes with this mixture on top of it. I'm going to try to coat all the bread pieces. Just like that. And you don't actually put the vanilla sauce on until you get it out of the oven. It's going to go on top after you get it out of the oven. So let's just mix that up just a little bit. Make sure all the bread is coated with that mixture. We're going to let it sit for 10 minutes while I'm making the vanilla sauce on the stove. Alright, all the bread's coated, and we're going to let it set for about 10 minutes. Alright, so that should work. And then once it's set for 10 minutes, then we're going to come back and stir in our raisins, our pecans, and our melted butter after it's done set. So we'll come back and do that in just a minute. So now we're going to make our vanilla sauce, which is the 1 egg, the half a cup of milk, the teaspoon of vanilla. So we're going to move over to the stove. Got half a cup of sugar and then a pinch of salt. Half a cup of heavy cream, and then half a cup of milk. Alright. So we're going to turn the heat on the stove. We're going to turn it on to medium low. You don't want to get it boiling. You're just going to heat it up, so to speak. Okay. Okay, so we're going to make the cream and the milk. Put that in first. It's a half a cup of heavy cream, a half a cup of regular milk, the vanilla extract, which is 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and just the pinch of salt. And then we got half a cup of sugar. Alright, we're going to whisk all that together. And we're just trying to get the mixture warm, not boiling, warm. So we're just going to put it about medium low. And then I have 1 egg over here that I whisked up a minute ago. And once it gets warm, we're going to put a ladle full of it into the egg to temper the egg. And then we'll pour the egg and the little bit of mixture I'm putting with it back into the pan. That's how you're going to temper the egg. So you don't want it boiling. What we're trying to prevent from doing is scrambling that egg when we put the egg in. So we're going to temper it by putting a little bit of warm milk mixture over the egg. Then we'll put the egg and mixture back into the pot. We're just getting it warm. You don't want it to boil, that's the key. Because that's too hot and it will scramble your egg. So do not get it too hot. It's not warm yet, but you do want to get it warm. Still cold. We're going to turn our heat up just a little bit, not too much because we don't want it to boil. And we're just trying to temper the egg. Once we add a little bit of the milk mixture to the egg and then put it back into the pan, we just need to cook it on low heat for another 2 to 3 minutes until the sauce thickens, but don't let it boil. And at the end, you can strain the sauce through what they call a sieve, or if you have cheesecloth, you can strain it through that. I don't have that here, so I'm not going to do that part of it, but you can if you had that. What that does is it removes any curled bits that's in that sauce. Okay, let's see if it's hot now. Or warm, I should say. But we do not want it to boil. Alright, so now it's warm, and I got it on medium-low. So we're going to put a little bit, I would say like half of this ladle full of milk, and then we're going to mix it really fast in the egg to temper the egg. We're just putting the lid, hopefully that's not too hot and it don't scramble my egg. We're going to try it. Really fast, whisk it together. And then we're going to put the egg and the milk mixture back into the pot. You're just trying to keep it from scrambling, basically. See, it's not scrambling. So we're going to put it back into the pot. That's called tempering the egg. And now we're going to mix it all together. And we're going to let it cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. Just enough to warm it. And this is the sauce that's going to go on the bread pudding once it comes out of the oven. Not before or during. You want to wait until it gets out of the oven. So, and you're just whisking it around and it should thicken up. I'm going to turn it down to low on that 2 to 3 minutes just so it can thicken up a bit. Now you can wait till the end whenever the bread pudding's done to make the vanilla sauce, because it doesn't take that long to make. So that's it on that. I'm making sure it doesn't boil. And I'm going to let it cook a couple minutes, and then I'm going to go over here and put the raisins and the butter and the pecans on the bread. It's been 10 minutes. Let's check that. Okay. We still got another 5 minutes on that, so we're just letting the bread soak up the milk mixture that we made earlier, and then we're going to stir in our melted butter, our raisins, and our pecans. And we made sure we saturated the bread with that sauce that we made, which is all wet, so. And I got some caramel here. Whenever it gets done, if you like caramel, you can put that on top of your bread pudding. We're going to try it. And check the milk. Make sure it's not boiling, which it's not. Okay, so now we're going to put in our raisins. Get some gloves on. We're going to put in our raisins, our melted butter, and our pecans, and then it'll be ready to go in the oven at 350 degrees. And we're going to cook it for about 40 minutes in the oven. Get gloves on. Alright, so half a cup of raisins. Sprinkle them around your bread pudding. You probably could even use dates in here if you wanted, or peaches. Next time I might try it with peaches. If you ever go to Walmart and get peach juice, it's very good peach juice. It's hard to find because it's usually sold out, but that's my favorite juice, is peach juice. Okay, and then I'm going to sprinkle the pecans on top. And I'm actually going to mix them in with the bread because I want to toast the pecans while they're cooking. So what I'm going to do is put half of them on now, and then when they get done, I'll put the other half. And then the melted butter, which, let me melt this. It kind of solidified a minute ago. Let me just melt it again. Okay, now it melted again. It kind of got solid while it was sitting for some reason. I'm just going to drizzle it on the top. Alright, then mix that in with the bread mixture. We're going to put it in the oven for about 40 minutes at 350 degrees. And you can leave the bourbon out if you want to. I just think it adds a good flavor to it. Alright, so we're going to put it in the oven. For about 40 minutes.